The Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's the Full Melt Show.
Shelley Waterman
Shake it up.
believes tiny doses of this supplement have had a huge impact on her family.
It's absolutely life-changing.
It's a cannabis oil called Charlotte's Web. Her nearly 14-year-old daughter, Hannah, has Rett syndrome, a degenerative neurological disorder, and also a severe seizure disorder. Her mom tells us Hannah was having frightening seizures pretty commonly until the cannabis therapy, thought to calm certain brain activity without the psychoactive effects of marijuana. Hannah's now about 40 days seizure-free, but her parents have to have Charlotte's Web shipped from Colorado and wish Vermont lawmakers could give them and others easier access to the oil here.
It will help Vermont grow an infrastructure in the medicinal community to be able to provide more therapeutic strains for people that have various ailments.
That we're looking at all aspects.
The Senate Judiciary Committee chairman says language is being drafted as part of ongoing marijuana regulation discussions at the State House to help families access therapies like Hannah's.
To provide for a well-regulated, but at the same time compassionate medical marijuana program in Vermont.
But when it comes to the primary goal of this legislation, which is to allow the legal sale of small amounts of recreational marijuana, public health advocates are urging lawmakers to consider potential side effects.
I think the public health burden for the state of Vermont is going to increase, and the tax revenues eventually will be far less than the costs to the state.
A key vote to advance a legalization bill is set for Friday. Shelley Waterman hopes her concerns are part of the discussions.
This is an important piece of the bigger picture.
In Montpelier, Jack Thurston, WPTZ, News Channel 5.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
It's the Full Melt.
The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
All right. Welcome to another Full Melt Show. Already at Friday. Today is the 29th day of January 2016. I'm Steve Green. And today, proud to announce our premiere broadcast on Periscope. If you want to find us on Periscope, if you're a Periscope user, I created 2 Periscope accounts. I think there's one is at the Full Melt Show, or at the Full Melt, and the other one I think we're broadcasting on right now is at Radio Steve. At Radio Steve on Periscope. The problem is, and I don't know, there seems to be more followers on the at Radio Steve than there is on the Full Melt Show one. I don't know how that happened. But the interesting thing is that, like when people can comment and there's a chat room and I can see what's going on if I happen to be able to look at the screen at the time and see comments and chats. The problem is I can't find my own broadcast now, which is a little bit weird. So I'm seeing that Adam Brook is now also periscoping at the same time. But Adam's periscoping like at all times of the day and night. You never can tell when Adam Brook's not periscoping. What is the phenomenon with Periscope? I don't know. It launched like in April of last year. Now it's got like, 20 million users already? It's got like a crap ton of people that are on the Periscope. If you're not familiar with Periscope, it's one of those things that you can download. It's only a smartphone app. So if you don't have a smartphone, you're not periscoping. If you do have a smartphone, either Android or iOS, I'm not sure if there's a Windows version. There may be. You can download the app and then you live stream from the camera and the microphone on your phone. And so it's kind of cool for people that are on vacation, or if you're doing something that you'd like your friends to see, but they don't have the advantage of being there with you. They can be by doing this. And instead of being connected to just one, like through FaceTime or something, you're connected to everybody in that way. You just can't see them back. They can see you and what you're doing, what you're pointing. They can't, but they can't. You can't see them back. So it's a way of doing, it's basically FaceTiming to a lot of people at the same time and notifying them, hey, I'm doing this live stream right now. So that's what Periscope basically is. So I see the attraction to it for those reasons. And, sometimes if you go to Periscope and look, it's just like, I don't know, it's just like some of the other live streams that you see. The ones that you least likely would think would have a crap ton of people looking at it are like the ones that don't take any work. Like you'll point it at something like, I don't know, a panda bear or a chicken egg hatching or, I don't know, an owl nest, anything like that. Anything related to wilderness or animals, people tend to they'll sit and watch it for hours just to see if the owl moves. They can see it snowing, so they know it's not just a static shot. They can tell it's video, and so they can see that they're hooked in live, but they're just waiting for that owl to move. And there's, 1.5 million other people doing the same thing. It's crazy. Periscope, you'll notice if the people are periscoping, it's kind of like that in that, some people have figured out how to get a lot of people watching. And it seems like the trick is because you're getting feedback from all the people you're connected to. All the people that tuned in can chat, little chats, like little tiny chats that kind of float up and go away as people chat them. I imagine if you had a crap ton, I don't know how that feature would work so well, because you got to have time to read them, and so does the person that's doing the streaming. And then it seems that the trick is that you respond back to those chats. So if somebody says, hey, I can see you, hold this thing up. Hold something that's in the, I'm trying to see what that is. Can you hold it up so I can see it? When you do stuff like that, people tend to not only make a lot of requests for you to do stuff, so you're like a human remote control, but it also makes other people tune in. I don't know why. I don't know if it really makes them tune in or if people just tend to tune into stuff like that. Or if they get followed. I don't know. There's something about responding to the people that are chatting that I think there's some fascination with. So I'm just trying to see is it still streaming on the Periscope? Swipe down to stop. So it's still streaming, but see, I can't find it, and I want to, but I gotta hold the stupid microphone because the mic stand that normally the microphone is in is now the camera stand for the moment. And it's holding the other smartphone that is pointed now at a screen that's got it's got a screensaver on the screen. It's got bubbles floating across it. But see, if I go to Periscope and I search, I caught my own stream before, but now I can't find it. So if I go there, well, let me just go. I can't see. I can see my own profile, but I can't go there. I don't know why it's not letting me go to that profile. So if I go to people, or wait a minute, there's a bunch of things on the bottom here you could tap. List, map. See, there's dabbing with Adam. I'm seeing that. So there's the stream. Okay, I found the stream. That was difficult. Oh man, see, and it says that the live stream ended 7 minutes ago. So now why would that be? Oh, see, now that's troubling. Well, I'm going to just start it back up again. It says it's still streaming, but if you try and watch, it says it ended 7 minutes ago. How can that be? So I don't know. So this program is a little bit of an experiment, I guess, today. Some of this will be around this subject because there's no way. Let me see if I can start over again. It says we're still streaming, but if I look myself up, it says we're not. So I'm going to stop this broadcast and start it immediately again. I think we'll do it like that. And then how do we oh, the tiny writing. Yeah, there's no this is bad. So I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to do this and see if I can just paste the old content back in there. There we go. And then I learned a trick because it doesn't like to do anything after you put that in there. There we go. If I switch to that and then do that, and then where's the... So it says we're now live again. Yeah, there's something wrong, and I got to adjust the camera too. There we go. All right, so that thing is going again. See, now I want to look. See, now I got to find myself again on the. It says is live on Periscope View. So there went the push notification to monitor myself. And there I am. So that's how it works. So it's a little strange hearing yourself back. Earlier I was doing a test broadcast and I did a little row, row, row your boat. So if you go row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, merrily, you could do that with yourself. It's just a little bit weird. You can play both parts and do it at the same time. You just find there's just enough delay there to make that happen. So I'm going to turn this off because this will drive both me and you insane. So the Periscope thing is working now, but I don't know why it wasn't working before. That's just very strange. I don't get it. We're just going to let it go, let it ride, see how it tends to work out for us. If it ends up being a stupid thing, we won't do it. If it ends up being something valuable, we will. The trick is, see, if you call in, and this is what I like about being on Periscope. If you call in, then you'll see on the screen, because I don't have the camera pointed at the soundboard and me and all the other stuff. I don't have it pointed there. It's just because I don't have a stand for it that would easily do that and get everything in the shot, and it's just kind of stupid. So I pointed the camera at the actual call screening software, so you can see when calls come in. And I thought that might be some kind of inspiration to make people call. I'm experimenting with ways, at least on the internet, with live audiences and getting them to be engaged in real time. A lot of podcasts and other, people end up consuming that material after those things are broadcast if they're live streamed, which this show is live streamed. But so if you want to call, it's 844-420-TALK. Right now on the screen, if you're watching on Periscope, it's just bubbles on top. It's like a screensaver bubbles on top of the thing. But if you call, that'll make the screen wake up, and you'll see yourself dialing in. Strange experimentation. We're talking about Florida and Colorado, and the news today on marijuana.
You're getting the full melt.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at RudoyLaw.com.
RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
RootMetrics, in the nation's largest independent study, tested wireless performance across the country. Verizon won big with 153 state wins. AT&T got 38, Sprint got 2, and T-Mobile got 0. Verizon also won first in the U.S. for data, call speed, and reliability. AT&T got text. Stuck on an average network? Join Verizon, and we'll cover your cost to switch.
It's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience, bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571. 2571.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release.
We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that, as traders, we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions? Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade. You got this.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Introducing Sacred Elements, a place for natural and alternative healing for the mind, body, and soul. Sacred Elements. It's one place, all solutions.
Registered, licensed, certified, ordained.
Sacred Elements.
Massage, hypnosis, Reiki.
Sacred Elements.
Raindrop, aroma and color therapy, body detox, ministry, life coaching, weight and nutrition counseling.
Sacred Elements. Next to the Sweet Leaf, 400 South Dort Highway, Flint.
11 to 7 daily, closed Sunday.
Call 810-259-2570. It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio Show.
Don't throw stones at me. Don't tell anybody.
I am here. We're back with the Full Melt Show. It is just after 7 o'clock in the evening. You can hear us Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I'm Steve Green. At thefullmelt.com, you'll find the links to iTunes, where you can click right there and subscribe to iTunes, our iTunes feed. For all of the former programs, you'll have access to all that stuff, and each time a new show gets done, which is every day, Monday through Friday, by the way. And then also over at Facebook and Twitter, the links are up there as well. And if this works out with Periscope, maybe we'll put a Periscope link up there. I think I just actually posted something on Facebook about our Periscope feed. Maybe some people will chime in. 844-420-TALK is the number to call if you are trying to get on the program tonight. Hello, who am I talking to?
This is Steve.
Hey, it's Steve. Steve, this is Steve.
Yeah, okay. I was just on Facebook chatting with you.
You were. That's right. Steve Thomas? Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I was asking about the old Snyder guy.
Yeah, well, are you from Michigan? Are you calling from Michigan?
Yeah, I live in Michigan.
Right on. Well, the thing with Snyder and the water thing in Flint is at least this is my take on it, and I'm pretty crystal clear about this. The problem that persists and exists inside of Flint was 100% caused by government. It wasn't caused by people. It wasn't caused by private business. This was caused 100% by government. And what makes it worse is it wasn't caused by necessarily just like Flint's city government, although there may be some, maybe some smaller blame over in that area. But it's really hard to hang anything on city council or the mayor when they don't have any power because they've been taken over by an emergency manager, which, if you understand the history behind this emergency manager law, I mean, they first put one into place, and then the people had a referendum and said, no, we don't want it. We don't want this emergency manager law thing. We voted against it and won. And then they went back and created a new one anyways, trying to make it referendum proof, and I don't even know that is. I don't know that this law is constitutional anyways, because the Constitution says you have a right to elected representation. And so this goes down, and so does the state's constitution. And so if you've got a right, not just a window of opportunity for, but a right to local control of your government through elected representation, and then you pass a law at the state level that says, you know what, if you guys aren't really doing your jobs very good, if you're making a financial mess of things, or if you don't know how to get yourself out of the weeds once you get there, we're going to declare an emergency and then kick you guys all kind of out of office. You're still in office. We're not really kicking you out of office, but we're going to take all your power away and make all your decisions for you until we declare that you're no longer in a financial mess anymore. And I don't think that this is constitutional. It's a noble idea. It's a clever way to try and solve a problem. I'll give you that. I just don't think that it's constitutional, and I don't think that it's smart for exactly the reasons you saw transpire here with this experiment in Flint. And let's call it what it is. It was an experiment. So is the Detroit thing. It was an experiment. This whole business about bankruptcy in Detroit, all a big experiment. And so far, the grand experiment has gone without bumps in the road. First off, nobody had a better way to fix Detroit. Flint's in a similar mess. But the thing in Detroit was fixed through bankruptcy. And I think if anybody had a better methodology, maybe somebody to put up some stop signs. But I don't think there were. And so under an emergency manager there, because you wouldn't see the city council and the mayor deciding they're going to declare bankruptcy as elected representatives. But these other guys who were appointed by the governor, and the same way in Flint, has these powers to just say, this is what I think we should do. And then when the governor agrees with it, they sign off on it. And that's what they do, despite what the local people of the city there want done. So that's kind of the history behind the whole emergency manager thing and why, that whole business was bad news. And why it should not really be allowed to stand. But I don't think anybody stood up and challenged the emergency manager issue in court. First off, who's got standing to take the issue before court? You got to have standing. And then once you've got standing, in other words, you're involved in an issue that affects you. So I suppose people from the city of Flint or maybe people from the city of Detroit would have standing to take this issue before the state, or maybe another city that's got a similar problem. But but only one that's under an emergency manager, because it's the only way you could argue the emergency manager issue. Now, your question goes back to Snyder. And it's my point of view that if indeed government caused this, Snyder directly caused this, even if he wants to hide behind some air of deniability. Hey, my people that I told to, gave certain responsibilities to, didn't report back to me properly. They didn't tell me what was going on. It's all bullshit, but that's what he's going to claim as much as possible to at least seal himself off from the problem. He's not going to claim full responsibility for this, even though he's apologized for it and said he's going to fix it. Apologies are awfully empty-handed thing to do, coming back when you've got kids poisoned by lead with lifelong injuries caused by this. Who can sell their home in the city of Flint now if your water's been contaminated? What's your home value worth? I would say nobody's trying to buy your house in the city of Flint at this point. So it's my opinion, to get back to answering your question about what about Snyder, that he's going to have to step down. And here's the recipe I've got behind that thinking. And nobody agrees with me. Everybody says, no, Snyder's not going to pay any price for this, even though he's a rotten bastard. He's not going to pay the price for doing this because politicians here get away with it every time. Nobody ever gets punished in politics here in Michigan. I think this may change because this is the first time that you've got a national spotlight focused on a major blunder caused by a Republican governor and a Republican administration. So they've got complete control of this government. The Republicans do. The GOP does. So I don't see how the GOP could let this stand in a year of presidential election because of the drastic effect it might have on the outcome of that election. Because how can the Republicans say that they've got a great plan going forward and that they can do stuff, they can get stuff done, and they're smaller government, better government, all about business, all about jobs, and big military? How can they go on saying all that stuff when you've got people practicing those very words in actual actions here in the state that have done blunders like this? And this isn't the first one. You've got the road blunder. Nobody's fixed the roads yet. They kicked that can down the road until everybody's out of office. He went over busy building that bridge. But he's still got that whole Detroit thing going on. And the same guy that was in charge of the city of Flint as an emergency manager there when they made the decision to switch the water to the Flint River is now in charge of the now going bankrupt Detroit school system, which the teachers are holding sickouts up there because they got mold and water damage and all kinds of problems inside these buildings where there are kids going through every day. How can you teach a kid anything when he's worried about the ceiling caving in on him? Seriously, if I'm worried about the ceiling caving in, I'm not paying attention to the science teacher. So I think the governor's going to have to step down at some point. because I don't think the powers that be inside the GOP, and these are big money people, these are all big business, big money people, how they could let him stand in the face of this governor, this election. You got to remember, Governor Snyder was thinking about running for president himself. He was going to try and be up on that stage with all those guys on Fox TV last night. Earlier, if in fact, I think if the running wasn't so thick of Republicans trying to vie for that position, I think you'd have seen him up there with them. He decided not to do it, and maybe it was a good thing. But so I think, Steve, to answer your question, I don't think the governor's got a snowball's chance in hell of not being forced out of office, forced to resign in the same shame that Nixon had on his shoulders for doing something deliberately, knowing that this was going to hurt people. And I think that's what the evidence is going to point to. What do you think?
It's been going on for more than just 6 months. It's been going on for a few years.
Well, it's come out. Well, it's a 2-year process. They switched this river water over almost 2 years ago. And then when they start immediately having problems, and you know, there wasn't really any attention paid to it by the state government until about a year ago now, right about this time last year. I think it was about this time last year, according to reports that just came out today. The governor and his administration started sending to his state workers in the city of Flint water. So if he's already alerting the people that work for him in the city that there's a problem, that you shouldn't be drinking the water, drink this instead while you're at work, to save them that legal battle, why did he just leave this open for the citizens of Flint? Why didn't he declare that emergency at the same time? If it was bad enough for the state workers, this was back last January. He didn't make any official acknowledgement of a problem with the water in Flint until October, and then do an emergency declaration until December. How is this not just a blatant failure of government by a buffoon who's got no capable hands in handling just the basic, simple fact that the main focus of government, the number one purpose and intent of government, is to first protect the safety and security of its citizens? Instead, they did the exact opposite for this city, to save a frickin' dollar. How can you stand? How can you stay standing as governor when you've done that and the nation's exposed you as such? The news reports and all the anecdotal, all the other side material that go to support this claim are all out there as just a matter of public record. I mean, there's nothing opposed, there's nothing denying that this is what happened. Except a little bit for the governor. You're going to see he hired some high-paid firm in New York City, a couple of them, to manage damage control. It's PR firms. And instead of spending money and focusing on fixing the problem in Flint with real hands-on now, get them out there digging up those lead pipes and fixing them. Instead of doing that, he's busy hiring a PR firm to mitigate damage control.
Right. He's wanting pay for, like, us taxpayers, and donations from, like, people like Pearl Jam and all these other, my daughter has got a cheerleading competition in Flint next week, and they say, don't drink the water, and then we get a post, and then they say, oh, you can drink the water, it's not in that part of Flint.
Right.
And they say you can bring water to donate, but that's just crazy.
Look, who's going to drink that water?
Shouldn't have to worry about going to that school and drinking the water or not drinking the water.
Right. It should never be a consideration in the first place, because what separates us from second and third world countries is a clean, distributed drinking water supply. I mean, this is just basic first world country stuff. I mean, we've got no excuse for this. Here in the Great Lakes, we have most of the Earth's fresh water supply locked up right here in the lakes that surround us. Look, if you know anything about the science of the Earth, the biology of the Earth, the way the Earth, the geometrics of the Earth, all the stuff that go into the Earth, the geology of the Earth, you'll know that there's only 2% of the water is fresh water. On the face of the planet, only 2% is fresh water, and most of that 2% is locked up in the Great Lakes. How is it permissible for us to have any kind of contamination in river water supplies, let alone for that contamination to be corrosive enough to damage a water supply system for an entire city because they didn't manage it right? All they had to do was dump some corrosion control in there that would take the pH down, or actually raise the pH so it wasn't so corrosive. It would adjust the pH to neutral and then process the water. And then they wouldn't have had a problem like this. But they didn't manage to even think about doing that because they were too busy saving $1 and not really focusing on the city of Flint's residents who have to live under this, edict from this, imagined or appointed administration of one.
Well, I knew it was bad because GM Motors quit using the water because it was corroding their cars.
It was corroding the parts that they were building. Correct, for the parts for the cars were getting corroded by the water, and they decided that this was not a financial loss that they could take, so they switched their own water supply. You're exactly correct. This is all stuff that's what I'm saying. It's in the news. It's part of previous news reports. It's part of previous emails. This is all part of history. It's right there out there in the open. There's nothing to deny that the state didn't cause this directly and with incompetence on the highest of order. So I don't see how this governor could be allowed to stay in office. He did the one thing against the very first primary goal of government, which is to protect the safety and security of its citizens. Instead, he did the opposite. He poisoned them.
That's why I asked you, because I figured you would know. I just wondering, how is this guy still even in office? It just boggles me. I mean, I'm in the union, and I remember this. It's a little off subject, but they shut us out of Lansing when we went down there to vote for the right to work state or whatever. But it's corrupt how he did it. And ever since that happened, and that's not why I'm against this. I just think, what would I do if it was my kid, my boy, that was being poisoned by the water?
It's not just the kids. It's every single person existing off of that water supply. And guess who else has to subsist off of that water supply that doesn't even have a voice in this matter? What about the domestic animals? What about the pets, the dogs and the cats? How many of those guys are going to show up with expensive problems at the vet now because they've been lead poisoned? I mean, this goes beyond just the kids. The kids are the most obvious because they're the most susceptible. They're the most vulnerable. They're the ones you want to protect the most. But it's not the only thing you want to protect. What about the rest of the citizens there? What about the animals there? I mean, this is a big problem, and it's not going to solve. It's not going to go away. We're running a little bit short on time here. Hang on 1 second because we're going to break. Steve, if you could hang with us, and I don't know if you can hear over the music or not. If you could hang with us, I'm going to put you on hold, and we'll come back and talk about this a little bit more. I really didn't want to turn this show into the Flint Water Show. I didn't. But, you got me fired up about it now. And as long as I got you on the line, there's no sense in not wringing out the rest of that rag. So hang on a second. We're going to go to break. I'm going to put you on hold, and we'll come back and kind of explore this a little bit more, because there are other facets to this question in a moment after the break.
You're getting the full melt.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release.
We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that, as traders, we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions? Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade. You got this.
At book club, they were asking me what you're doing now, Janice.
Blogging. Your blog is just pictures of you in a mirror.
It's called a fashion blog, Todd. Well, I've been helping people save money with Progressive's discounts. Flo, can you get Janice a job?
You should have stuck to softball. I was so much better at softball than Jan is dead.
Where's your wife, Todd?
Vacation.
Discounts like homeowners, multi-policy. I got a discount on this ham.
I've got the meat sweats. It's good ham, Diane.
Paperless discounts. Give it a rest, Flo.
Yeah, Flo, give it a rest.
We asked people to tell us something that happened in their past and something that might happen in their future. The good things were put on yellow magnets and the bad ones on blue. The results show the past was a pretty even mix of good and bad, yet the future was almost all good things. Now that you've seen the results of this experiment, what does it mean to you?
We all want to think about positive stuff.
Realistically, there will be downtimes.
It's great to think optimistically, but let's plan for whatever the future might bring.
Prudential, bring your challenges.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart, And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pets.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show. Oh, man, I forgot where my microphone was. I didn't. I lost the microphone there for a second because it's not connected to the mic stand. It's sitting on the floor because I have to pick it up now. We're supposed to be talking about Colorado and Florida. Instead, I'm talking with Steve on the phone. Steve is calling from Michigan. Can I ask you what city you're calling from, Steve? Are you still there? Can you hear me?
Yes.
What city are you calling from, brother? Can I ask?
Yeah, Midland.
You're in Midland. Okay, so you're in the home of you live in one of the places why the Flint River might be contaminated. Because Midland's the home of Dow Chemical, right?
I live right next to it, unfortunately. Pretty close anyway.
Here's something else that's and this is a little bit off of our off point. I mean, we're already off topic, and I'm dragging us further off. I feel ashamed. But I also feel driven, so I'm just going to continue. When it comes down to this, now that you brought up Midland, you've got the Attorney General, who's also from the city of Midland, Bill Schuette, who I can't stand. I can't stand him mostly because he doesn't, and it has nothing to do with his position on anything. It has to do with the fact he refuses to stand up for the people of the state. He's just busy running his own agenda through that department. And we're powerless to really do anything about it, especially since they reelected that bastard. But, he's a problem as well, and you might see him pick this up under his wing and use it against the governor. Look, the governor's own attorney, who is the state attorney general, that's who is the governor's attorney. And he's also the attorney that's supposed to represent the people of the state. May choose to use this as a weapon against the governor by finding him culpable and responsible in this in a criminal way. And that's what should happen anyways. And you might see him do this in an attempt to fill that seat, because I don't think the attorney general is planning on running for his office again. I think he's got his heart set completely, and has since he ran for attorney general in the first place, on filling the governor's seat. He's been climbing that ladder. He started out as a representative in the state, and then he went out. He became a judge, and then an appellate court judge, and then ran for attorney general, and now he's trying to make his way to the governor's office. And it would not surprise me at all to see him. He's got to find a way to cleverly do it, because otherwise he looks like he's doing exactly what he is, which is trying to unseat the governor so he can take that seat. Which he can't just take it. He's not in line to succession for it, because it's a separate elected office. The people in line for the governor's seat would be the lieutenant governor, Brian Cayley, and then on down the hierarchy, just like you've got inside the United States government with the Speaker of the House and the Speaker of the Senate, and on down. You know what I'm saying? It goes like that. So there's no succession to Bill Schuette, but there could be if, say, Brian Cayley gets in there and just ends up having, because first off, he'd be inheriting a lame duck governorship. The governor's already lame duck at this point. He really holds no power, because he doesn't have any political capital to spend anymore, and he's already screwed things up enough with the Gamma Corsa affair, that whole nightmare and debacle. They kind of washed their hands of them by kicking them out of their House seats, but it doesn't dismiss them of being associated with that corruption. Because it's only in the light of the background corruption that's already going on inside the state at horrible levels. Michigan's got a D- for transparency and corruption. That's not my rating. That's like an independent watchdog rating. So you've already got this background of corruption going on here, in which this Gamma Corsa affair went on, and then you've got the road thing where they never fixed the roads. They kicked that down the road. Literally, they kicked that can down the road, even though the road's all busted up. They managed to do something legislatively that didn't fix the problem. It just made it look like they were addressing it. They didn't really do that. You're not seeing the roads being fixed. And you're not going to, because they haven't raised enough money to do that. And they're not going to do that either. Like you said, he built that bridge. I mean, he's got these other problems to deal with. What about the city of Flint now with this water thing? What about the city of Detroit with its school problems? I mean, these are basic fundamental government requirements. Schools, fire, police, safe water. I mean, these are what we have government for in the first place. If we didn't need these things, we wouldn't have a need for government, for crying out loud. So if they're so busy trying to line their own pockets and pay off their friends and make deals with big business people so they can have golden parachutes and run off to retirement land in a sea of me gold, that they're just wringing the state dry, and in this case, poisoning its citizens, its residents. I mean, Flint's one of the largest cities in the state. It's gotten smaller, admittedly, but you can't put it out of its misery by poisoning its citizens. Good Lord. And look at the financial calamity. It's already got financial problems. How can you bring up property values? You can't do any kind of neighborhood beautification, expect property values to go up. Nobody wants to live there mostly now because of the water. Maybe people would have moved there before if you made some attractive things, if you've done some other civics and made things attractive for people to move into the city. But you're not going to do that at all if you can't even trust the water the kids are drinking at school, or they got to bring their own bottled water. And now they're passing out filters, water filters, and having people attach them to their sinks. And I'm telling you, these are particle filters, and there's some other filtration stuff going on in there with activated charcoal and stuff that will absorb some stuff out of the water. But it's not a fix, and I don't think it will even. And it's with a brand new clean cartridge. It's just designed to take enough lead out of this water supply to make it potable, to make it acceptable. No amount of lead is acceptable in a water supply, in a drinking supply. But this is not, those kind of filters are not going to remove all of the lead. They're going to leave the majority of it behind, especially if the water filter gets old. They shouldn't even be passing out those filters at all, because they should be putting up, red tape on all the faucets in the city until they get this problem solved once and for all. And that's going to involve a very expensive fix to a very ancient and broken down water system. The distribution supply has been permanently damaged. It needs to be replaced. And it's going to cost over $1 billion, probably $1.5 billion to do it. Where's that money coming from?
Yeah, I watched that MSDN the other night.
Oh, when Rachel Maddow had the MSNBC thing going?
$15,000 a house, and then like $2,000 just to dig it to the house.
Well, and that's just to replace the lead pipes that are going from the water supply that's out at the street to the house. That's just getting rid of the actual lead. The problem still exists in the remainder of the piping because it's all been corroded. You understand it? It's no longer a smooth, clean surface on the inside. It's got all kinds of garbage that's leaching into the water. Even though the lead pipe's been replaced, there's other corrosion inside the main water supply now. I mean, these pipes, like I said, I don't see a way of flushing that corrosion out. It's part of the containment of the water itself. It's part of the piping. It's corroded. It's been degraded. Yep. It's going to end up in the water. It's got to be replaced at this point. I mean, that's just the only answer to this question, and having a safe, realistic answer. It's just a very expensive one, and one that wasn't caused by just, failure in some other part for maintenance or a failure on the part of the city or the people that are responsible normally for running the city. This is a failure on the part of state government because they got no business running civics. The state should not be out there. Lansing should not be in control of Flint. It's not Lansing. I'm saying the state government shouldn't be, the ones in charge of what happens in Flint. The city of Flint has its own elected representation, and that's what I'm saying. This goes back to that emergency manager law, and at some point, I don't see how this, can't come up as a question of matter of law. That how could this law be constitutional? It's unconstitutional for the very reason that you saw this calamity happen in this, heart of Michigan City. I mean, pure Michigan has been forever damaged. How can you watch one of those commercials about pure Michigan now and not think about the city of Flint's water? Purely corroded. Purely toxic. Right. Pure Michigan, my ass.
right.
So it's a real problem, and answering your original question, Stephen, I did it once before, I'll say it again. I think the governor's going to have to step down. I think he'll be forced to step down by people that have bigger interests at heart. If the Republican Party expects to survive the next election cycle, I don't see how they can do it with the albatross of Rick Snyder hanging around the GOP's neck.
Yeah.
I just don't see how they can let it happen. The Koch brothers, are putting pressure on people to knock on the governor's door to get him to step down so he's out of the limelight and the Republican Party is left off the hook of this calamity. So that's what I think about that. I can tell you this, Steve, that I had planned on having a bigger show today about water involving the water filter situation because, again, I think there's no responsibility at all on the part of the people handing out these filters as a way of mitigating damage here. It's not something you can do and expect to still, even on the first try, the first draw out of that water supply, you should not be trusting that it is lead-free. And I challenge anybody that got one of those water filtration systems. Test the water after you put the filter on there and tell me if it's still safe to drink. I think you'll find out it's not. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not calling out any filtration companies. That's not their fault. I mean, they build these things for a different purpose in mind. They're not designed to clean up a toxic spill like this. I mean, it's not really a toxic spill. It's just corrosion that shouldn't have gone ever into the water supply because it's corroded all the pipes and all the distribution is damaged now. It needs to be completely replaced. It's the only fix. If you try and do this any other way, people are still going to be remaining poisoned. And I don't think the EPA is going to sit around and let this persist either. They're going to be like hawks on this on the national level now. Before, the state government was able to keep the EPA out of the equation by just fudging statistics and giving them other tests that didn't show what they already knew existed. So they kept a blind eye to the water people, the water quality people at the federal government's level. I mean, they manipulated data so that the EPA did not get involved. And the EPA director stepped down in this debacle. So whoever comes in and takes over that position is going to focus like a laser on the city of Flint, and he's not going to let anybody drink that water supply as long as that system's been damaged. If he does, he's just as idiotic as the people that caused the problem and the guy that had to step down because he allowed this to happen on his watch. Steve, we're going off to break again, and we've only got a few minutes left in the program. Do you have anything else to add before we go? I'd like to move on.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks for calling, Steve from Midland. 844-420-TALK if you want to call in and talk about cannabis today, Colorado and Florida.
You're getting the full melt.
Promotional consideration provided by NoSmell.com, pioneering the storage market for cannabis users. The NoSmell patented bag technology offers users 100% smell-proof detection from even the most sophisticated of noses. NoSmell.com, so nobody knows. When placing your order for a no-smell bag, make sure to use discount code FULLMELT and take 10% off the entire order. Learn more about no-smell technology at nosmell.com.
Young students are our future. They're eager to learn, eager to succeed, eager to make the world a better place. And they want to make it to school safely. Share the road, take care when passing, and always leave 3 feet between you and people on bikes. Bikes are legal road vehicles. We're all drivers.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at RudoyLaw.com.
RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the Allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pets.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571. It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Yes. And I wanted to just go over the two, I labeled the show Colorado and Florida. Colorado's got a problem, according to an Associated Press article, I think it was today. Now I'm curious. I made myself curious. I have to look it up. It's drug traffickers secretly shipping mass quantities of weed out of Colorado. This is a Fox News report out of Denver. This according to foxnews.com. Dateline, Denver, headline. Drug traffickers secretly shipping mass quantities of weed out of Colorado. Seeking a safe haven in Colorado's legal marijuana marketplace, illegal drug traffickers are growing weed among the state's sanctioned pot warehouses and farms, then covertly shipping it elsewhere and pocketing millions of dollars from the sale, according to law enforcement officials and court records consulted by the Associated Press. In one case, the owner of skydiving business crammed hundreds of pounds of Colorado pot into his planes and flew the weed to Minnesota, where associates allegedly sold it for millions of dollars in cash. In another, a Denver man was charged with sending more than 100 pot-filled FedEx packages to Buffalo, New York, where drug dealers diverted the shipment. 21 other drug traffickers, many from Cuba, were accused of relocating to Colorado to grow marijuana that they sent to Florida, where it can fetch more than double the price in a legal Colorado shop. These cases and others confirm a long-standing fear of marijuana opponents that the state's much-watched experiment in legal pot would invite more illegal trafficking to other states where the drug is still strictly forbidden. There's a lot more to that story, but I wanted to draw your attention to it because of this. So far, the federal government has said, look, this isn't Colorado's fault. You can't blame Colorado for the acts of individuals who are doing this kind of thing. And their strict regulation, because they're not doing that in accordance with state law. It's not like Colorado sanctioning the idea of you packing up bundles of weed and throwing them in your car and taking them across the border to Kansas. Or anywhere for that matter. Or shipping it, countrywide. Because they're doing that in Colorado. And they knew they were going to do that in Colorado. If you're doing that, you're a complete idiot. Because they're more likely to catch you than not. And the risk isn't worth the benefit. You're just an idiot if you're doing that. And you're also putting a horrible name on the industry because it's trying in its infancy to grow up. And it can't do that easily if you're busy muckraking it back down into the coals like that. So there's that issue. So pay attention. Where things get legal, there's going to be some still illegal activity if you haven't set up especially your legal process correctly. Look, there's no reason except for a mismanaged retail industry for people to exist inside the black market. You don't see much of it happening here. I don't see it here in Michigan anyways with alcohol. I don't see a lot of bootlegging happening here in the state. I'm sure that's different in other states, especially where some of those people have to subsist off of that income. But here, it's not an issue because we have a well-regulated system, and alcohol is inexpensive and widely available. So to take on that risk isn't very helpful. Hello, you're on the Full Melt Show. Who's this?
Steve.
Okay. Oh, Steve, you're calling back again. Oh, I thought we were done. I thought we were done.
No, I was just going to listen to the other what else you had going on.
Okay, yeah, sure. If you want to hang on for a second, I'll just let you listen on hold. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's fine. I was
All
just
right.
curious to listen.
Sure, stand by. Hold on, we'll let you listen on hold. I don't like to do that because if he's calling in on the 800 number, we're paying by the minute for that, for him to listen. And you can listen free online at thefullmelt.com, by the way, Steve, just so you know. The other thing that I wanted to point people to was the idea that Vermont, I said Florida. Man, see, I said Florida, and I might have put it in the headline as Florida because I'm an idiot like that. I don't know if it's because it's the peninsula shape, because they're similar to, I don't think it's a shape thing. I think I just screwed up thing. If I put Florida in the headline, I screwed it up. I'll have to edit it. It's Vermont. Vermont is a city that is now examining, and I don't understand, this puzzles me a little bit. And the story, if you Google marijuana news, you'll find it in the top 10 stories there, if you want to go look it up. I don't have a way. I got too many hands and too many things to do and not enough hands. So I'm not going to easily reference it right now. But the point is that Vermont is now looking into the CBD oil thing. Now, Vermont is also, remember, the home of Senator Bernie Sanders. He's a Vermont senator. And by the way, now that I've mentioned that, I have to do this. I merely forgot. Where's it at here? Is it here? Let's see if it is.
Hey, man, I learned the Chuck Berry intro to Johnny Be Good, man.
There's one candidate that stands head and shoulders above them all, who has weathered many storms and is totally ready to be the commander-in-chief, or the commander-in-cush, as I like to say.
That's some heavy man.
Only one candidate this year that has said things I truly believe in, like supporting the legalization of a fair and humane immigration policy. The legalization of a real living wage.
Say what?
Oh, and yes, Bernie does support that other form of legalization that I care so deeply about.
Wait for it.
The legalization of the super medicine, marijuana.
There it is.
Hey, get rid of it! Not that way, man.
There you go.
So I know this year, you and I are going to feel the burn. Go up to the polling booths and light up, man, for progress and change. See you soon, America.
There's Tommy Chong. That is a new Google, it's a new YouTube video. Tommy Chong supporting the likes of Bernie Sanders. And for good reason, because he's the only candidate you can trust is going to be right about this issue. So what I'm saying is Vermont Senator, U.S. candidate for president, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, inside the state there, inside that very same state, because it's a liberal state, obviously. They're looking to do retail cannabis. They're trying to do the whole retail cannabis thing, and which is why it seems so strange, because you got the liberal Vermont, if you compare it with, I would say red state, Republican, very conservative Florida, especially with all those old Jewish people down there. All those senior citizens, man. I mean, it's conservative state. They're completely different politically. But Florida came to the bar first to talk about CBD oil and how that and making way for access to it to the children in the state. And 2 years into the program, I mentioned this yesterday, they still don't have access there. They're just now getting the licenses figured out, and they gave them all to the big giant. Really, they're nurseries. It's a huge nursery industry in Florida now. The people that are going to grow the CBD only hemp, that are basically cannabis, but it's probably considered hemp. Yeah, you got to grow a crap ton, and I don't, the licensing. See, these guys are going to fail because I don't think there's enough money to pay for the oil in a retail form. Enough of it to go around to support 5 farms all farming CBD oil. I just don't get any of that. But now Vermont is looking into loosening their own restrictions, and I don't know how they would have any because they've got the medical marijuana program there in Vermont. That's what's going on in Vermont. So we're always up against the clock. There's never enough time to do anything. And if this thing with Flint goes on any further, there won't be time to do anything more, period. Until tomorrow. No, tomorrow's Saturday, so there's no program for the weekend. Until Monday. Isn't that February 1st? I think it is. We'll be back in February right here on The Full Melt Show.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.